Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our friends, families, and all those around the world get their finances in shape. We hope everyone is joining us. We had a little technical difficulty, so we're on a different stream. I hope you all have tuned into that stream. If not, go back out on Facebook and YouTube and you'll see the new link. Just have to go and reboot. So, Dote, how are you doing today?
Happy to be alive, my brother.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing to be alive. Last week's show was pretty great. It was called Look Before You Leap. In other words, before you make certain financial moves, make sure that you do your homework, do your research, patient, don't make emotional moves. And if you didn't catch our show last week, you can go out on Facebook. It stays out there for 30 days, Facebook Live, not Facebook Live, on Facebook. And you can look at the archives in YouTube. Like we always start out, got to just let you know that we are not financial advisors. We provide information. We're financial educators. So we look forward to people using our information. But if you're looking for a specific personal portfolio information, you should engage in a qualified financial advisor. We'd like for everyone, if you click on to the comment box, it's very important that you do that and put any comments if you have about anything we're talking about, or if you have any questions, or if you have some particular topics that you would like for us to explore. Also, the more you put in the comment box, by the way, the more algorithms we reach more people. So just want to make sure you do that. And then we also like for you to click on the like button. That also gives us a lot of traction, and the heart button too. So we appreciate that. Thank you for joining us, all the people around the world. We're definitely in our United States of America, but there are a lot of people, though, that are engaging us now in Europe and even in Australia. My friend down in Australia has been getting on. So we look forward to that. My man Bobby Cooper in Holland, Amsterdam, also is a person that's getting on and makes me a little bit proud. Today is May 15th. This is our 198th show. 2 more shows, though. We at 200. Rolling, man. So without any further ado, I'd like to start off the top of the show. We like to talk about the stock market. And it's amazing, man, what's going on. I mean, like we say, it's so crazy these days. But Dope, won't you bring us up to date?
Yeah, crazy doesn't quite describe it. It's really kind of ridiculous. It's all about the tariffs, man. The S&P has gone up 4 days in a row because the U.S. and China have kind of backed off of their almost childish one-upmanship on tariffs. Who can raise them the most? Who can raise them the highest? And so now it looks like things have finally calmed down. The market's kind of gotten comfortable with the fact that there's going to be a delay, and they're hoping that something concrete happens and we don't throw the world back into chaos again with the 2 biggest powers trying to see who's the strongest, I guess.
Well, but today is one of those days, though. It's not letting me add the screen.
Oh, well, really?
Yeah, it's not letting me add the screen, so we just have to.
Well, I mean, this is the best chart in a while. If you look at it, S&P is up 4.5%,
right,
versus last week. The NASDAQ is up almost 7%. It's up 1,184 points. And if you look at some of the individual stocks, I mean, Microsoft, it went up 15 points for the week. That's about 3.4%. Microsoft actually is favorable year to date now. It's up 8% year to date. S&P finally turned positive for the year. It's up 1%, where the NASDAQ is actually down 1% for the year. But again, S&P had 4 straight days of wins after the, let's call it the tariff piece. Apple for the week is up 7 points, but for the year to date, it's down 15%. And that's more because of their results than anything else. NVIDIA had a good week. It was up 18 points. It actually went positive for the year. It's up 1%. Google is still having trouble. They're up 10% for the week, but they're down 13% for the year to date. And that's primarily because a lot of the regulatory things they're going through. Pfizer is flat for the week and down 15%. It's only down 4 points for the year, but for the week it's flat. And Palantir, it's still going strong. It's up 9 points for the week. Year to date, it's up 68%. So it's up to 128. And again, I bought this stock at 70. So a few more points up, I will double my money on that. So all in all, it's all going up because of the tariff piece right now. No one knows if it's going to hold. They put like a certain number of days they're going to kind of let things simmer and think about it, and we'll see how things shake out. So I'm hoping this is the end of this. I truly do. But with the guy in charge, there's really no telling if this is the end or not. So we'll have to continue to see how it goes. But like I said, S&P is positive for the year. NASDAQ is slightly negative, and things look like everybody kind of took a big sigh of relief and said, okay, there are some adults in the room. Things are starting to get back to normal. Still a lot of negative things going on in the market, though. Microsoft just laid off 3% of their workforce, and that's a whole lot of people. And so there's still some fear out there. There's still our recession fears. There's a lot of negative stuff going on. So as usual, it's time to be cautious and stick to your plans, stick to your goals, and don't do anything because of panic.
Yeah, like our system's not working today. Don't panic. But hope y'all hang in there with us. So I'll talk about the cryptocurrency market today. Cryptocurrency is up too, not up as much as it has been for the past several weeks, but it is now up to $3,412 billion. That's a lot. It's up a lot, man. Because remember, about a year ago, it was down to almost low as two trillion. Bitcoin is still staying over six figures. It's at $103,103. It's up $166. That's the lowest in the past few weeks. That's less than 1%. Ethereum is up over 16%. It's up to $2,528. That's up $354. And Tether is up. That's the stable coin, which is pegged to the dollar, 1 cent. And that goes by volume also. And all other cryptocurrencies are up too. Ripple, XRP, was in the top 4 position. It's up 6%. So all in all, the cryptocurrency market is steadily been going up. And a lot of people are looking to get into those cryptocurrency ETFs, man, and that they allow them to, do it in mutual fund these days, which is pretty interesting. But like we say, all investments are good investments, but only invest what you have willing to risk or even willing to lose. Though, I guess since the market's been up, gold for some reason stopped going up, and it's lost a few dollars the past couple of days, but it's still over $3,000 per ounce, and silver is still up. But that's starting to show that inverted effect, and we'll see when these next indicators come in, when they talk about unemployment, excuse me, and inflation. We will actually see where the commodities market is ending up. And the bond market has been going down too, though. A lot of people have been jumping out of Treasury. So still crazy, still uncertain, ladies and gentlemen. But like we say, have a plan, be diversified, and don't let your emotions drive your decisions when it comes to managing your assets. So, Dope, today we're going to talk about knowledge is power. A lot of people have come to us and have asked about particular books that they can read that can actually help them. So today we're going to talk about the power in the books and knowledge that is out there, and a lot of good books.
Yeah, and that's a good place to start with increasing your financial literacy and trying to make a change to your financial future is adding a financial educational book to your reading list. And you're trying to get a handle on your finances. It's sometimes it's hard to figure out where to start. What things should you work on? How to start investing. You got to think of a way to generate extra income. And so, there's a zillion options out there, and you got to have somewhere to start. So if you have a goal of finding financial freedom, then you have to have a plan or a roadmap to figure out how to do it. And so, you think about the time you spend maybe watching TV or scrolling through social media. Maybe you can take some of that time and spend looking through some of the financial books that we're going to describe to you today. These are 7 that Kiplinger recommends, and we think they're all real good spots to start and trying to build on your financial knowledge.
And Dope, I've read over half of the books that they're recommending, and a lot of those books we use with my nonprofit. Been using them for years, and it's so important, though. I did some research, right? And a lot of people, especially Black people, don't read as much as I thought they did, But it's so important, you all, because that's, where we need to get information from a lot of places. Like me and Dope, full disclosure, we get a lot of information from Kiplinger, Fidelity, Vanguard. But it's good to have a nice book, that has been vetted and that has been proven. And there's some good ones out there. We got 7 today, but it's way more than that. But we're going to talk about, this year has been so uncertain in more ways than one for Americans, especially dealing with inflation, high interest rate policies that reinforce systems of income inequality in this country, and an ever evolving financial landscape. Staying updated with the latest financial trends is essential for personal money management. Reading is a great way to do this. Now, on a personal level, if your financial situation seems out of control, the following authors have been through it all and are here to guide people through your particular financial journey. These books, you can get a lot of tips from what they've done. These books are, they offer concrete advice on how to take control and how to manage your money successfully and confidently. You'll discover in some of these books, budgeting tips, how to get control of spending habits, and creative ways to even, save your hard-earned dough. So, we hope some of these goals, that they talk about, they will help you. So get out a pencil and paper and begin, write down some of the titles and authors of these books, or the ones that might be of interest to you.
Yeah, first one, Think and Grow Rich. That's by Napoleon Hill. And this book, man, it's old. It was originally written in 1937, and it's kind of a motivational book that gets you thinking about something and believing you can do it, making a plan to make it happen, and you kind of imagine yourself achieving these things. And it talks about never giving up and sharing your goals with people to help motivate you to believe in what you're doing, believing in yourself, believing in hard work, believing in not giving up, And it was the first book to boldly ask what makes a winner. And the man who asked and listened for the answer, the author, he's now counted in the top ranks of the world's winners himself. the most famous of all teachers of success. He spent a fortune, a better part of his lifetime of effort to produce the law of success philosophy that forms the basis of his book. And in the original, he actually drew on stories from Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and other millionaires of his generation to illustrate his principles. And now in the updated version, this guy, his name is Arthur Pell. He's a nationally known author and lecturer and consultant in HR. And he's an expert in applying Hill's thought. And he definitely interweaves anecdotes of how contemporary millionaires and billionaires, such as Bill Gates, do what they do. And again, this is more giving you a roadmap of how to think positively and forge your way from a financial standpoint by thinking positive.
And we use this book in our nonprofit a lot. What's so interesting, like you said, this book has been revised and reprinted, not just revised, reprinted, since 1937. So that should tell you something about the basic principles in this particular book. And Dennis Kimbrough, who is an alpha man though, the Napoleon Hill Foundation commissioned him to do the Black version of Think and Grow Rich. So if you go out there on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, you can also get Dennis Kimbrough's version of Think and Grow Rich. It's really good, you all. So check it out. Another book that we use and which I read, and it's such a great book at all levels, but especially for younger people in high school and college graduates, but even adults. It's called The Millionaire Next Door, and it's by Thomas Stanley and William D. Danko. Excuse me. Now, this book is another great book. The Millionaire Next Door is talking about the surprising secrets of Americans, the American wealthy people, right? And it was reissued, for the 21st century. So this book goes back a little bit too, but it's so interesting. A lot of these money management principles are still current today. Now, according to the office, most people have it all wrong about how to become wealthy in America. Now, wealth in America is more often the result of hard work, diligent savings, and living below your means. And men don't talk about that all the time. It's more about that than about inheritance or advanced degrees or even intelligence. The Millionaire Next Door identifies 7 common traits that show up again and again among those who have accumulated wealth. Now, this book, you'll learn, for example, that millionaires bargain shop for used cars, pay a tiny fraction of their wealth in income tax, and they raise children, now check this one out though, who are often unaware of their family's wealth until they're adults, or even above all, reject the big spending lifestyle that most of us associate with rich people. Now, in fact, you learn through this book, that the flashy millionaires glamorized in the media represent only a tiny minority of the Americans who are rich. Most of the truly wealthy in the country don't live in Beverly Hills or on Park Avenue. They live next door.
Yeah, and here's a good one. The next one is Your Money Vehicle: How to Begin Driving to Financial Freedom. And this book was written by Jedediah Collins. And if you think about it, financial literacy, especially for youth and young adults, it's crucial. If you can get off to a good start, you're probably going to do well. But many of these financial lessons that you need to have, they aren't taught in school. So if you don't learn them at home, you pretty much get started and you end up probably in a hole if you aren't put on the right path early. And so if you think about even having education, you got to take action. That's one of Bob's favorite sayings. It's one thing to know, but it's another thing to do. And
Right.
So your parents, for a lot of us, came up in a different environment, and they, you end up learning what they learn, which they might not be financially sophisticated. And so if you think about it, how will you learn if you don't learn from your parents? And a lot of us pick up bad habits, or we just go on emotion, which is never a good way to do it. You don't learn how to make money how to make money work for you. And so when this guy Collins, who was an NFL player, got his first paycheck, he actually started thinking about how to lay out his money, how to develop a financial plan, planning for his long-term future, realizing he wasn't going to be an NFL player all of his life. And so he starts in his book, he kind of unwraps the complicated language of money into short, digestible stories that give you clarity. And it took him years to find. He's trying to save you the trouble of learning by learning, and which you could just learn by reading. So in his book, you walk through 10 questions designed to start you on your financial journey, and you receive guidance on how to get started with cash management, taxes, investments, and more as you come up with a personal plan. So you'll walk away with skills to make money work for you and also give advice to others.
Yeah, that's a book though that I think I'm gonna pick up and I'd like to check out because I haven't read that one. Now the next book we'd like to recommend, and this is a great book though. Once again, this book we have bought so many copies and used them. It's great for churches and in youth investment groups, and it's great for all ages. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's by George S. Clayson. Now, this book covers financial principles that are practical in today's world and helps readers reach financial security and prosperity. Now, The Richest Man in Babylon is a classic, I'm telling you all, personal finance book that was published, check this out, in 1926. It is a collection of parables, over 6,000 parables set in ancient Babylon. Now, a lot of people say in Babylon, you heard that word in the Bible, but actually Babylon is where actually Iraq sits right now. Now, this book teaches simple yet powerful financial lessons that are still relevant. Now, the book's first section discusses the importance of saving money and the power of compound interest. One of the stories in there is the king Babylon was like, man, all these people are rich. Why isn't everybody rich? He said everybody should be, if one person could be rich, why shouldn't everybody else become rich? So he called the richest man from Babylon to his castle. And he said, man, why isn't everybody rich like you? And he said, well, one of the main reasons is people don't save. One of the biggest reasons, one of the things they talk about, as we talked about before, about he's putting some money aside, and he talked about just saving 10% of your money. But that's just one of the stories. And he goes on to say, it doesn't matter. And back in those days, though, when you sold Arabian rugs, that was like the top expensive things to sell. He said, whether you're selling Arabian rugs or you cleaning camels, it doesn't matter. The name of the game is that you have income coming in. It's not what you make, it's what you do what you make, So in this book, it also emphasizes paying yourself first. And, we talk about that all the time. It's so important, to make sure you take care of your emergency fund, your savings first. Now, it's, by setting aside a portion of your monthly income, it's so important that, before you spend on other things. We talk about that all the time. It also highlights the importance of seeking advice from those who are knowledgeable and experienced. We talk about that all the time. Listen to some of the family members who sometimes can get you in trouble or trying to keep up with the Joneses. Now, the second session of the book focuses on building wealth through investing. The Richest Man in Babylon. I'm telling you, I love this book. It discusses various investment opportunities such as real estate, business ownership. It emphasizes the importance of diversifying one's investment, with me and Dope, a great proponent. I know y'all probably tired of us talking about that, but that is one of the keys of becoming, independent, financially independent. And it also stresses the importance of taking calculated risks. And this is the main one, you all, being patient to achieve your long-term financial success. So overall, The Richest Man in Babylon is a timeless and accessible guide to personal finance. Now, his lessons are conveyed through engaging and memorable stories. Like I said, a lot of parables, a lot of people who read the Bible or who are religious. You really enjoy this read because it's really interesting, and it's also set to you help improve your financial situation.
Yeah, the next one is a guy most of you may have heard of, Dave Ramsey. The book is called The Total Money Manager. And if you've ever seen him interviewed or seen a video of him, this guy is straightforward, no BS. And this book, it gives you a straightforward, actionable plan for transforming your financial situation by helping you eliminate debt and better manage your money. His emphasis is on behavior change and get you in control of these complex financial strategies. And that resonates with readers because his approach is very practical and it is actionable. And his goal is to get you to have financial freedom. And this thing, it gives you a lot of good tools and it also is very encouraging. And this guy talks about a straight, surefire plan to get out of debt, from your cars, from your home, and everything in between, using his snowball method, which we've talked about before. And he tries to help you break bad habits and make changes that you want to stick with for a long time. He talks about the 10 most dangerous money myths. We've talked about those before. He's real big on set aside money for emergencies because they do happen. And if you put money away in savings, you don't want to have to pull that out because you have an emergency. And it talks about saving enough money for retirement. And his whole goal is not to live like you're a king, but to live like no one else and also give. If you have money and you've generated money, you'll be a lot more likely to give as opposed to just spend.
Yeah, that's a that's a good one. Dave Ramsey, one of his main things he talked about, dope, is paying down your debt by using, we've discussed this before, the snowball method versus the avalanche method. And he gives a lot of, I like some of the tips that Dave gave. And it's simple and it's very understanding and it's very comprehensible. Next one I want to talk about. Now, this is a little bit different. It's not really kind of a finance book, but it's called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And it's all small stuff. It's by Richard Carlson, right? He teaches us, us to focus on what really matters. Like I said, it's not necessarily about finance, but the attitude and mentality for how to think can be used and applied to money and money decisions. I've read this book. It is so good because most of our decisions are made based on, what we believe in, what we feel is important, what we value. So a lot of times that's not even about numbers. It's really about mindset and about attitude. And don't sweat the small stuff. And it's all small stuff. It tells you how to keep from letting the little things in life drive you crazy. In thoughtful and insightful language, Richard Carlson reveals ways to calm down in the midst of your incredible, hurried, stress-filled life. It seems like everybody is so busy being busy. You know what I mean? You can learn to put things into perspective by making the small daily changes that Dr. Carlson suggests, including advice such as choose your battles wisely. And this is a good one, though. Remind yourself that when you die, your inbox won't be empty. And make peace with imperfection. A lot of people understand trying to be perfect, don't realize our perfection is in our imperfections. But some of the other things you learn in this book, and like I said, I love it though because it's about mindset first. And that's how I teach financial education, financial literacy. I always start with the mindset, understanding your values. But you will learn in this book to live in the present moment. Let others have the glory at times. It lowers your tolerance to stress, teaches you to trust your intuitions, and it also teaches you to live each day as it might be your last with gentle, supportive suggestions. It reveals ways to make your actions more peaceful and caring. And I love that part of the dope. And it also gives you an added benefit of making your life more calm and stress-free, which I feel a lot of people sometimes emotions get to them and their impatience get to them. And it's so important to being able to manage your money properly.
Yeah. Last but not least is the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This book is still currently a bestseller. It's been around for a pretty good time. And this is his own story of growing up with two dads, his real father and the father of his best friend, who was his rich dad. And he talks about the ways both men shaped his thoughts about money and investing. And it explores a lot of myths. And one that it disagrees with is that you have to earn a high income to be rich. It explains the difference between working for your money and having your money work for you. And this book, a lot of things in this book were criticized 25 years ago, but now they're a lot more meaningful and relevant and important than they were back then. A lot of people are buying into what he's saying. And again, he explores the myth that you need to have a high income to be rich. He challenges the belief that your house is an asset. That's one of the things a lot of people automatically buy into. I got to have a house, and that's an asset. He doesn't believe that. It talks about how parents, why you can't always rely on your schools to teach your kids about money, because really they don't. And honestly speaking, most teachers don't have a lot of money. And we always talk about you learn about money from people who have money or people who've been successful for money. Doesn't mean that if you broke, you can't know. But if I'm going to listen to somebody, it's going to be somebody who's demonstrated what they're telling me. Okay. His book also defines what's an asset, what's a liability, and it teaches you about what you should teach your kids about money in order for them to be financially successful. And the key thing about some of these books, like I mentioned Dave Ramsey, he's a pretty new guy, but some of these books have been around for years. And a lot of the basic money principles, I mean, that's nothing changes there, right? Nothing is really new. It's all the same basic information, but in these different types of books, some are trying to motivate you to do the right things, and a lot of them are teaching you to do the right things, because we always talk about a lot of this stuff we didn't learn growing up, but you're never too old to learn. It's never too late to start. And any of these books is going to give you good information for figuring out what you can do with your money. And one of the things we always talk about is make sure the information that you're getting is good information. And these are Kiplinger's 7 Best. And that's a pretty highly respected source that, as Bob mentioned, we use for a lot of our information. And so it's typically something you can trust. What you got to avoid is getting online and reading some of the wacky stuff that's out there, because anybody can create a video, anybody can write a blog, and you can get a lot of crazy stuff off the internet that may or may not be true. So you really have to watch where you get your information, who's telling you what, does it make sense? These books that we just described, they all stand the test of time. They all are tried and true methods to help you be successful. None of these guys are really selling you anything other than knowledge about how to get started, how to be financially responsible. So all 7 good books, you do yourself well by reading any or all of these books to increase your knowledge.
And I'm sorry, you all, but technical difficulties are not allowing us. I had a list of all the books that I was going to put up on the screen, but it's not allowing us. But I'll read them out to you again and put in the chat box. Oh, actually, there's a lot to be putting into the chat box. But I'm gonna go through them again, and if you it's the one particular one that you want me to put the title and the name of the author, just put in the chat box and let me know. The first one was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and also, remember I told you, the Black version by Dennis Kimbro, Kimbro, Alpha Brother. He was commissioned to do the Black version, which is really good too, you all. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, or the one by the Black version by Dennis Kimbro. Second one is The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. The Millionaire Next Door. Third one is Your Money Vehicle, How to Begin Driving to Financial Freedom. This is by Jedediah Collins, who was a former NFL player. So I'm sure a lot of sports people would, can see eye to eye with some of the stories, can relate to some of the stories that he talks about in money management. The fourth one is The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, Clason. George Clason, is pronounced Clason. The Richest Man in Babylon. I'm telling you, for you people, church people, and rec centers with young people, this book is a treasure. I've been using it for years. People love it, and the information never gets old. And the next one is The Total Money Makeover by the famous Dave Ramsey. Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey.
And if you're in debt, that's one you should definitely grab a hold of.
Yes, because that's one of his strong points too, though, about reducing and paying off debt. The next one is, like I said, it's not a financial book, but it's a mindset book. And remember, all your finances are driven by your mindset. It's called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and It's All Small Stuff by Richard Carlson, Carlson. And the last one, and this book has been with the bestsellers for years. This is an awesome book. So many people use it. It's Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, a lot of people have that book, though. I know a bunch of people who actually have that book and have read it. And like I said, I've gotten halfway through. I haven't finished it. I plan to finish it, but it's really a good, interesting book. So with that, though, I'd like to end with like we normally do, our summary and takeaways. And the first one is knowledge is power. Make no mistake, knowledge is power. And
sure, playing the next on guest bedroom TV.
Okay. So make sure you understand. Remember,
guest bedroom TV.
Remember, knowledge is useless if you don't put it into action. It fails. And take the time to read, you all. I know we're busy. We we got so much going on, but it's so important. I mean, because right now we have access to so much information, but we just need to take the time, quiet time, and sit down. And these are some good books.
And second one is vet your reading. Bob just mentioned all the information that's available. All information is not good information. So make sure you're reading from a trusted source. Make sure your information has been vetted. Make sure it makes sense. And realize that anything anybody writes, Dave Ramsey, for example, there are things that I agree with. Most of the things he said I agree with, but there's some things I don't agree with. So everything won't fit your situation. So make sure you read it, understand it, and can apply it to what your situation is.
And that's the good thing, though. That you make a very good point. Because this is a lot of information. Just take what applies to you. You know what I'm saying? And most of the time. And that's why in that other book, the small stuff, it talks about, your intuition. You know, so I know sometimes some people say some of this information is going over their head, but take what can apply to you and use it for you. The last one, though, I want to talk about is don't ever stop learning. You know, the key once if you stop learning, you're dying. It's plain and simple. Alzheimer's and you know uh, CRS. You know what that stands for, right? Yeah. All that kind of stuff. Reading helps you all. And why not read something that's going to help you? And especially you all get these books for your children. And I don't care what ages they are, but especially grandchildren, some of y'all, these books are very important because the sooner they learn, the more they start. I'm telling you, it's contagious because once they start, and that's how I was, though. I was a sociology major when I came out from playing ball, and I started getting in the financial world. And the more I started reading, the more I got interested, and that's how I ended up in the financial field. Because the more I read, the more it actually inspired me to do more. So make sure y'all share this with these young people, right?
Hey, Bobby, before we close, there's a couple new scams out there I just want to remind people of. People are getting emails and texts from the IRS. And the IRS usually doesn't send emails and texts. If there's an official letter, you usually get a letter mailed to your address. So don't fall for that. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is there's a bunch of scams out there where people are using the voice of like famous people, famous like government officials to try to scam people. Wow. And with AI, you can copy any voice that's out there. So just be cognizant of those things. Realize that scammers are out there. And if you don't know who it is, just hang up. If you get an email, you don't know who it comes from, just delete it. Please do not hit any links. That's what they want you to do. Please don't get scammed.
That's important. Just like to say hello to everybody. Like we do a normal shout out. Nolia, Gloria, and Linda. You are the best, my sisters. Though they support us, man. And one day y'all going to get to meet Thomas Doty in person one day.
You'll be disappointed.
No. I think they're gonna be surprised. Modestine, as always, thank you for being on. Now, what's up now? Always a pleasure, my dear. And Joanne Skinner, thank you for being on. And Pam Hill, my wonderful friend. Pam actually is the director of the Phyllis Wheatley House in D.C., helping underprivileged women. And she does a great job. She's been a social worker. We went to school together. And she does a great job. I mean, I don't think those people are thankful enough because you hear so many other people's problems and to still be able to keep your sanity. So thank you for what you do, Pam. We really appreciate that. And Dope, I want to leave you today, not with a quote, but this is a deep story, and I hope you get it. It's short, but it's very important that you get this. Two young salmon are swimming along one day. As they do, they are passed by the wiser, older fish coming the other way. The wiser fish greets the two as he passes, saying, "Morning, boys. How's the water?" The other two continue to swim in silence for a little while until the first one turns to the other and asks, "What the hell is water?" Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. You don't get it, though?
I'm with the slow group tonight.
Like most young people, they don't even know. They just oblivious. They swimming and they don't even know that they're in water. And that's how a lot of people, they don't even know that they're in the situations that they're oblivious. Thank you, gentlemen, for the list of financial books. You're so welcome, Modestine. but Dope, that was. Okay, I have to work with you, Dope. Hey, anybody out there, did y'all get it? I know y'all did. But anyway, that's what the story is. So as always, thank you all for spending time with us today. The 199th show coming next week, man. And we hope that you will be on. Remember, you all, share this with your family and friends and your neighbors. Until next week, have a wonderful day. Peace.